All right. Ready to totally crush that assistant restaurant manager interview. You came to the right place. We're going to deep dive into some interview prep, and we're going to be looking at this really cool article from Indeed.com Singapore.
Yeah, so we've got 49 example interview questions
Yeah.
and sample answers to unpack here.
Got 49, that's a lot
It is a lot.
to get through. So we're going to really zero in on like the most insightful ones, the ones that are going to make you really stand out. Not just answering the question, but like understanding what they're even looking for, right?
Absolutely.
So the article really smartly breaks it up into these three categories. You got general, you've got experience, background, and then like the really intense in-depth section. So let's start with general. You've got the classics like tell me about yourself, but then they hit you with a curveball. Like mention 3 things you can change to improve our patrons' experience. Like how do you even begin to answer that?
Well, I think that question really gets at, are you familiar with this particular restaurant? Like, have you done your research? So rather than having some kind of generic answer about like, oh, we should have, better customer service or something, you can tailor it to like maybe things you've observed about their menu online, their, customer reviews, really showing that you've thought about this
Oh,
place.
that's sneaky smart. It's like you're already thinking like a manager even before you have the job.
Exactly.
Okay, so then we go on to, experience questions.
Mhm.
And this is where, even if you haven't been an assistant manager before, this is where you can shine. It's really about those transferable skills, things like budgeting or staff training, handling conflicts, things you've probably done in other jobs, but you might not realize are so relevant here, right?
Right. Yeah. It's all about how you frame those experiences to make them applicable to the restaurant industry. So maybe you've managed budgets in like a retail environment. Well, guess what? Restaurants have budgets too. And you already have that experience in terms of like, tracking expenses and, making sure that costs are controlled and trying to maximize profits.
That's such a good point because I bet you a lot of people who go for this role, they almost count themselves out because they're like, well, I haven't been an assistant manager.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's really about those core responsibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. They're looking for potential, not necessarily that you've checked every box in terms of your previous roles.
Okay, so buckle up because now we are going into the in-depth section.
Yeah.
This is where the article really throws you into these like real world scenarios.
Yeah.
You've got the like demanding customer who's like convinced their steak is raw when it's clearly medium rare.
Oh, yeah, the steak scenario.
The steak scenario,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, classic.
A classic. Or the sudden rush when the restaurant's slammed and orders are piling up and
Huh.
like everyone's looking at you to kind of lead the charge.
Yeah, these scenarios are all about seeing how you think on your feet, how you problem solve, how you communicate under pressure. It's not about having the perfect answer. It's more about demonstrating your thought process and your ability to like handle the unexpected.
Which is exactly why we have you here. Let's
Yeah.
start with that demanding customer.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like sometimes, they can smell your fear.
Right.
So how do you even begin to like de-escalate a situation like that?
Well, I think de-escalation is all about just bringing things down from a boil.
Yeah.
You're trying to calmly and respectfully regain control of the situation.
Okay.
And it starts with active listening. You really want to let the customer air their grievances, even if you think they're being totally unreasonable.
Oh, okay.
Make eye contact, nod your head, use phrases that show you're paying attention. Like,
Right.
I understand your frustration. I see what you're saying.
Okay. So it's almost like you're validating their feelings even if you don't agree with what they're saying.
Yeah.
But doesn't that just encourage them to complain more?
Not necessarily. I think most people just want to feel heard and taken seriously.
Right.
And once you've done that, then you can move on to offering solutions.
Okay.
Again, empathy is key here. You might say, I apologize that your steak wasn't cooked to your liking. Would you like me to have the chef cook you a fresh one? Or perhaps you'd like to try something else from our menu.
Okay. So it's not about giving in to their every demand, but it's about like offering alternatives that show you're committed to making things right.
Exactly.
I like that. It feels more collaborative
Yes.
than like confrontational.
Exactly. And even if the customer is wrong, finding that win-win solution can actually turn a negative experience into a positive one. In fact, I remember this one time.
All right, demanding customer handled with grace. Check.
But now let's talk about another scenario that can send shivers down any restaurant manager's spine, the dreaded dinner rush. When the orders are flying in, tables are turning over, the kitchen's like in full-on frenzy mode.
The symphony of controlled chaos.
Right.
Yeah, it can be a little overwhelming, especially if you're newer to management. So it's like you're conducting the orchestra now, not just playing an instrument.
Exactly. And that means thinking ahead. The Indeed article actually talks about something called cross-training your staff so that everybody knows multiple roles. So if your host gets swamped with seating people, someone from the bar can jump in and help. It's all about flexibility and teamwork.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It makes your whole team kind of like this adaptable unit that
And
can handle anything.
yeah, and while we're talking about being proactive, the article also suggests implementing a reservation system.
Oh, yeah.
This can be huge, especially if your restaurant's prone to those sudden rushes.
Right.
It allows you to manage capacity, you can anticipate your staffing needs, and you avoid overwhelming your kitchen.
Okay, reservations, like such a simple concept, but it can make such a difference.
Huge difference.
Right, it's like your secret weapon
Totally.
against those unpredictable crowds.
And don't forget about prepping ahead. If you know a rush is coming, having those ingredients prepped, sauces made, even some popular dishes partially assembled can save you valuable time when things get really hectic.
Oh my gosh. Prepping ahead, cross-training, reservation systems.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel a lot less intimidated by that rush.
Good.
But let's face it, even with the best planning, things can still go wrong in a restaurant. Like what happens if, I don't know, a vendor shows up with like contaminated ingredients? Talk about a nightmare.
Yeah, that's when your knowledge of food safety protocols is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
This is not something to take lightly.
Right.
The article emphasizes following established procedures.
Right.
So things like immediately quarantining those contaminated ingredients, contacting the vendor, documenting everything.
So it's like having a plan in place before something like that happens, right?
Yeah.
Because in the heat of the moment,
Oh, yeah.
your mind can just go blank.
Absolutely. And knowing when to escalate the situation. If it's a serious health risk, you might need to involve higher management, contact the local health authorities, even consider temporarily closing the restaurant
Wow.
to ensure everyone's safety.
It's a big responsibility.
Huge responsibility.
Yeah, but one that any manager, needs to take seriously.
Absolutely.
Speaking of responsibility, the Indeed article also throws at you some ethically tricky scenarios. Like, what would you do if you caught a server, I don't know, like sneaking a bite of a customer's food?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But it's a great example of a question that's designed to assess your judgment and your ability to handle kind of those delicate situations.
Right.
Remember, as an assistant manager, you're responsible for upholding those standards and setting a good example for your team.
So like brushing it under the rug is definitely not an option.
Not at all. The article suggests addressing the issue privately with the server,
Okay.
explaining why their actions are unacceptable, both from a hygiene perspective and just a professional standpoint.
So it's like coaching and correcting, not just like punishing.
Right. And then depending on the severity of the situation and the restaurant's policies, you might need to document the incident or involve higher management.
Okay, it sounds like a lot of these in-depth questions are less about finding the right answer and more about showing the interviewer like you can think critically, you can make sound judgments, and just like handle those gray areas that are bound to come up.
Absolutely. They want to see that you have that maturity, that responsibility, and the people skills to handle those more complex situations.
What strikes me about like all these scenarios is how much they really emphasize the people side of this job.
Yes.
It's not just about managing the food and the operations. It's about like managing this whole team.
It is. You're so right.
Right. Motivating staff, creating a good environment for everyone.
Absolutely. And a lot of the questions in the Indeed article are designed to assess that.
Right.
Your leadership style, your communication skills, and your ability to build a strong team.
Like there's a question in there about how do you motivate restaurant staff during those peak periods? When everyone is stressed, orders are backed up, tempers are probably running a little bit high.
Right.
Right. How do you like keep everyone going?
It's a real test of leadership. And what's interesting is that the sample answer doesn't focus on like pep talks or financial rewards.
Right.
It talks about the importance of clear communication,
Oh,
making sure everyone knows their role, feels supported, has the tools they need to succeed.
it's like creating that sense of shared purpose,
Yes,
even in the chaos.
exactly. Because when people feel like they're part of a team, they're more likely to go the extra mile and support each other.
Totally. And then there's the inevitable question about like how you handle conflict between employees,
Hmm.
which, let's face it, is bound to happen in any workplace,
Of course.
especially one as fast-paced as a restaurant.
Absolutely. This is where your conflict resolution skills really come into play. And the article suggests an approach that I think is incredibly effective. It's about active listening, finding common ground, and focusing on solutions that benefit the team as a whole.
So you're not playing like judge and jury.
Oh,
You're helping them kind of work
I'm
through
a
their...
facilitator.
Right.
Yeah.
And coming to a resolution that works for everyone.
And remember, sometimes conflict can be an opportunity for growth.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
If handled well,
Mhm.
it can actually strengthen the team dynamic.
This is making me realize that this Indeed article really goes beyond just giving you like canned answers.
Yes.
It's really about like helping you develop a deeper understanding of like what it even means to be an assistant restaurant manager.
I agree. It's like they're giving you a glimpse into the mind of the interviewer,
Right.
helping you anticipate those questions and understand what they're really looking for.
It's like a secret weapon
Totally.
you can take into that interview.
Speaking of secret weapons, I have a thought-provoking question inspired by the source material, something we haven't explicitly discussed yet.
Okay.
It should really solidify our discussion today.
Ooh, lay it on me.
Do you recall how the source material covered improving customer loyalty?
Yeah, that was one of the experience questions about how to boost customer satisfaction and encourage repeat business.
Right. But I want to go a step further.
What?
What's one creative way you could improve customer loyalty, specifically at the restaurant you're interviewing for?
Whoa. Okay, so not generic solutions, but like understanding their concept, their audience, their challenges.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking of ways to like tailor a loyalty program to their menu, or maybe even do like a social media campaign that plays on their location or their history.
Exactly.
Right.
That's where you can really showcase your creativity, your initiative, and your understanding of their business.
I love it. It's challenging, but in a good way.
Good.
It's like forcing me to think outside the box and come up with something new.
And that's what will make you stand out in the interview.
Well played. You have officially taken this deep dive to a whole new level. I'm feeling way more confident about tackling those interview questions now.
That's what we like to hear.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
We still have a few more key takeaways to unpack from this Indeed.com/goldmine.
Yes, stay tuned for part 3, where we'll delve even deeper into those sample answers and uncover even more strategies for acing that interview.
You don't want to miss it. See you soon. All right, welcome back for the final part of our assistant restaurant manager interview prep deep dive. Man, I'm feeling so much more prepared to tackle those tricky interview questions after like dissecting this amazing Indeed.com article.
Me too. It's been a really fascinating journey,
It has.
hasn't it? From handling those demanding customers to navigating food safety dilemmas, we've covered a lot of ground.
We even learned how to conduct an orchestra
That's right.
of a busy restaurant. But now it's time to distill all these amazing insights into some like actual takeaways.
Yes.
Yeah, what are the key things our listeners should really remember when they're crafting their own winning answers?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to really showcase those transferable skills. Even if you haven't been an assistant manager before, really highlighting those experiences from other jobs that demonstrate your leadership potential.
So if you've managed a team, handled a budget, even just been the person that like everyone relies on to resolve conflict,
Yes.
talk about that stuff.
Talk about it. It's all about showing them that you can handle those core responsibilities.
Right. And it's not just about listing those skills on your resume. It's about like weaving them into your answers in a way that like connects them to the restaurant industry.
Right.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying, I'm a great communicator, you might say something like, in my previous role, I was responsible for training new employees and providing ongoing feedback. I found that clear communication and active listening were essential to creating a positive and productive work environment, and I'm confident I can bring those same skills to your team.
Perfect. You've taken a generic skill and you've made it specific and relevant to the role.
All right, transferable skills, check. What else?
The next big thing is tailoring your answers to the specific restaurant.
Yeah.
I can't stress this enough. Do your research.
Okay, it's like that saying, if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
Yes.
Harsh, but true.
It is true.
So before you go into that interview, dig into their menu, look at their online reviews, maybe even visit the restaurant, observe the vibe.
Absolutely.
It's like going on a first date,
Yes.
but instead of impressing like a person, you're impressing a restaurant.
I love that.
And speaking of impressing, final piece of advice. Let your passion and personality shine through.
Yes.
I know this is going to sound cheesy, but like, who would you rather hire?
Yeah.
Someone who's just reciting these robotic answers,
Yeah.
or someone who's like genuinely excited about the opportunity.
Absolutely. Authenticity always wins.
Right.
And it's not about being someone you're not. It's
Right.
about being the best version of yourself. So relax, smile, and let that passion for the industry shine through.
It's about showing them that you're not just looking for any job, you're looking for this job,
Yes.
and you're the perfect match for it.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to that thought-provoking question that I left you with in part two.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember?
Of course, the one about improving customer loyalty at the specific restaurant you're interviewing for.
At the specific restaurant you're interviewing for, it's a question that can really set you apart from other candidates
I think so, too.
because it shows that you're not just looking for a job.
Right.
You're looking for a way to contribute.
You're already thinking like you work there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's say you're interviewing for a position at a trendy new ramen shop that's all about those authentic flavors and like a fast casual dining experience. What's one creative way that you could improve customer loyalty there?
Okay. Well, I could play on that authenticity angle, maybe partner with local Japanese artisans to offer like limited edition chopsticks,
Oh, all
honor
right.
ceramic bowls as loyalty rewards, or create like a ramen passport program where customers get a stamp for like trying different ramen varieties, and after they complete the passport, they get like a free bowl.
Those are fantastic ideas. I love
Uh,
that. They're so specific to the ramen shop's concept
exactly.
and their target audience.
It's not just generic discounts or points. It's about like creating an experience
Yes.
that really resonates with their customers.
And that's what will make you memorable and leave a lasting impression on the interviewer.
Well, you have officially turned me into a confident, strategy-equipped interview ninja.
Good.
I'm ready to rock that interview.
That's the spirit. And remember, even if you don't get this job, the skills and the insights that we've discussed today will be invaluable throughout your career.
So true. And if you're hungry for even more tips and sample answers, be sure to check out the full Indeed.com Singapore article. We'll include a link in the show notes.
It's an incredible resource. And remember, the world of restaurants needs passionate, dedicated people like you. So keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for excellence.
All right, on that inspiring note, we have reached the end of our deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.